Hey buddies, thanks for coming back. Today we're going to talk about gold pans. We're going to talk about some of the features of gold pans, how those features work, and hopefully learning more about your gold pan will help you find more gold. This is not a sponsored video, but I do want to thank my friends at High Plains Prospectors. If you haven't checked them out yet, please do. I'll include a link in the description. Alright, now, while the intro rolls, go ahead, hit that like button, and subscribe. We'll see you in a bit. So gold pans. Usually when someone looks at a gold pan, they know what it's for. They might not know how it works, they might not know how to use it, but they know what it does. In order to learn a gold pan better, we're going to start off with a little science. So gold weighs 19 times more than water. So as a prospector, what you're going to use is you're going to use that weight against gold and force it to the bottom of the gold pan. So when you take your gold pan at first, you put your solids, dirt, rocks, sand, into the gold pan, and then add water. You then move the pan around. That's mixing up the water and the solids. As you're doing this, the water helps break apart the things that it can, the pieces of dirt, the gold that might be stuck to rocks, and that kind of thing. As it moves around, the heavier gold will fall to the bottom. The lighter stuff will come to the top. That's called stratification. You're getting the gold to the bottom and the lighter stuff to the top. So once you have that, we want to get the lighter stuff off, and we want the gold left in the pan. If you were to take a regular dinner plate and put stratified gold material in the plate, and you tried to wash it off in water, it would slide right off the plate. There's nothing holding it back. So a gold pan has something called a riffle. A riffle is a raised edge that gives something for the heavier materials to catch on to allow the lighter material to flow off the top. Once you move around dirt enough, move around the material enough, the heavy stuff will be at the bottom. You'll repeat that process over and over of washing it over the riffles so that the heavier stuff stays and the lighter stuff goes over the top. Now, this is a less expensive gold pan, and I have an issue with it in that a lot of new coming prospectors will purchase an inexpensive pan, and I understand that. But what I'm trying to do is help you learn what can be a downfall of the pan so you can use it better and find more gold. These inexpensive pans typically have very short riffles. If you're loading larger material in your pan, these smaller riffles aren't going to stop a whole lot. You have to be careful in how you tip the pan and how you work it to make sure that the heavies stay in the water, in the pan, and the lighter stuff goes over the top. Again, those are smaller riffles. Another kind of riffle is a riffle that's cut into the edge of a pan. You can see here that that riffle sits inside the wall of the pan. That is called a drop riffle. The purpose of a drop riffle is to allow more room for the heavies to sink down into that riffle to allow the lighter stuff to flow over the top. So that's a drop riffle. A drop riffle can be very beneficial when you're working larger material, when you're first sampling a location, you load it up, load your pan with solids, stratify it, use these larger riffles to help catch more material before the lighter stuff goes off. So a pan such as this with large riffles can also have smaller riffles. If a pan has both larger riffles and smaller riffles, you use the larger riffles to work off the larger material. Once you get the larger material worked off, you can then switch to the smaller riffles. The smaller riffles hold more of the finer materials, keep more of the heavy, finer materials behind, and let the larger, lighter materials slide off over the top. So that's the purpose of the smaller riffles. Now, when you first buy a gold pan, everyone will tell you that you have to season the pan. With plastic pans like this, seasoning the pan can mean different things. Here is an example of a fresh gold pan. I just purchased this pan yesterday. This is a fresh, unseasoned gold pan. This is a pan that's already been seasoned. So you tell me I have to season a gold pan, but how do I season it? Well, luckily that's pretty easy. Seasoning a gold pan can be as easy as getting a handful of rocks or sand and a little water and just working that into the pan. You're just going to move that stuff around and you're creating scratches in the pan, in the plastic. Some people prefer to use sandpaper, a finer mesh sandpaper. Either way, both of those processes create scuffs in the plastic. Those scuffs are essentially very fine riffles that help hold on to the gold and help keep it in the pan. So that's the reason you want to season your gold pan. Now, if you have a gold pan, dual riffles, and you've worked it down past the small riffles, you likely still have material in your pan that's not just all gold. So you need to work off the finer stuff. Some people like to use just the smooth edge of a seasoned pan. The smooth edge of a seasoned pan can provide enough resistance, if you're careful, to keep the heavy stuff in and let the lighter stuff wash out. There are other pans like this. I'll try to give you a close-up here. They have a texture on the side. This is the Minelab XP pan, and their feature they use is what they call snake skin. It's a fine texture, and really what that does is that's essentially riffles that will help give places for gold to settle and let the lighter material flow over. This is another pan, one of my favorite kinds of pan, one of the few that are still made in the United States. This is the Job Prospecting 1849 gold pan. I like the style of the riffle it has. I wish it had the drop riffles. I would like the drop riffles. It does have the texture on the side for finishing gold. Another feature in some gold pans, some people prefer, myself included, is a drop bottom. If you look at this pan here, it has a straight line from the edge down to the bottom. Straight line. A pan like this, you notice the line goes down and then the bottom drops. There's a lip. There's actually a use for that. When you've stratified your material and your heavy gold is at the bottom, when you tip your pan to work it off, to work off the lighter material, your gold is going to sit right in this area. When you get to the finer parts, you're working off the fine material, that drop bottom can be very helpful, your last line of defense, if you wish, to wash that lighter stuff off and keep the heavy stuff in. My personal favorite. This is purely based off my experience, my uses. If I had to use one pan for the rest of my life, I like this Minelab XP pan. Here's the 11 inch. I'm sorry, this is the 10 inch, and this is a 15 inch, 14 inch. I'm off both ways. This is the 10 inch version, and this is the 14 inch version. The 14 inch version, that's a size I would use for initially testing an area, loading it in, working it off, just seeing if there is gold in the material. The 10 inch version is something I would like to use if I'm working off concentrates from the gold cube or a sluice or a high banker. I like to use the 10 inch pan. Now, what I like about this pan is I like the larger drop riffle in both of these. They both have the larger drop riffle. I like the fine riffle, the smaller riffle on the side. And I also like the texture that's right here. The one thing I don't like about it, if I could change anything on this pan, if they would change this, give me this option, I would love this pan. I'd buy a truckload of these and never own another pan in my life. But if they made this with a drop bottom, this would be the only pan I use the rest of my life. I enjoy this pan. I really like the 1849 pan with the it's got a more aggressive riffle on the side. It doesn't have the finer riffles, but it does have a more aggressive riffle on the side. It has the texture for finishing, and it has the drop bottom. I've only been able to find this in the 11 inch, the 11 inch size, not the larger size, a 14 or 15 inch size. And I would like this to have if this had the drop riffles, and the smaller riffles, this would be perfect. It's not just the manufacture of the pan, it's the designs and the features in the pan that make it easier to use and more beneficial for catching gold. Hey buddies, I appreciate you joining me today. I hope you got something out of this. In the comments below, go ahead and talk about some of the things you like or dislike about gold pans, something you'd like to see in a gold pan. Tell me if I got something wrong. We're all in this as a learning process, and hopefully we can share with one another and make each other better. So I appreciate you joining me again. Don't forget to hit that notification button. That way YouTube will let you know next time I post up one of our adventures. Go out there, find some gold.